Oh my gosh, welcome back, romance lovers. Today, we are diving into an absolute obsession of mine. We are exploring the explainer of the time travel historical romance, Viking Warlord's Time Lost Bride by Rowan Alistair Blackwood. If you love stories where a completely modern world collides with ancient, brutal history and where the chemistry is just off the charts, you are going to be totally hooked on this one. Look at this hook right here. 2 centuries, one choice. Which world will she claim? I mean, talk about the ultimate forced proximity. Imagine being a modern archaeologist, knowing everything about the 21st century, and boom, you are suddenly ripped from your comfortable dig site and tossed straight into the unforgiving reality of 9th century Scandinavia. Our heroine, Emma, doesn't just have to survive a terrifyingly gorgeous Viking warlord, she has to figure out if she even wants to go back to her old life. Okay, let's break down exactly how this romance unfolds. First, the ancient rune discovery. Second, captured by the warlord. Third, modern mind, ancient world. Fourth, battle for Ravenfjord. And finally, the choice across centuries. Starting right off with Section 1, the ancient rune discovery, an unearthing out of time. The entire saga kicks off in literally a split second. It's October 2026. Emma and her colleague Lars are freezing in a Norwegian valley, and they stumble on the Holy Grail, a completely untouched 9th century warlord's grave. But as Emma is brushing the dirt off this glowing blue stone pendant, the ground just vanishes. The world twists, and she wakes up on a cold, rocky shore, completely surrounded by dragon-headed longships and a very real group of heavily armed Vikings. Talk about a jarring meet-cute. The cause of all this temporal chaos? This magical artifact called the Teether Stain. It's this beautiful teardrop-shaped blue stone carved with unusual Old Norse runes. But it's not just a rock, it literally hums like a heartbeat. Right before it swallows the excavation site in a massive flash of blue light, it gets physically warm. It's almost like the stone itself chose Emma, deciding to pull her through these hidden paths of time. Which throws us headfirst into Section 2. Captured by the warlord, a hostile welcome. The enemies to lovers tension starts the literal second she meets Eirik Ravenfjord. He is this massive, battle-scarred warlord, and his men are totally convinced Emma is a witch. They want to tie her up and toss her into the ocean. But Eirik is sharp. He balances his suspicion of her weird modern clothes with the fact that she's holding his clan's legendary magic stone. So instead of killing her, he captures her, demanding she come to his stronghold. You can just feel the sparks flying. So how does a modern academic survive being interrogated by a fierce Viking? She uses her brain. Emma realizes she has to prove she has foresight. She boldly claims to study Viking Age culture from the future. To back it up, she predicts a massive, multi-year Scandinavian famine that's about to hit. She even points out an iron spearhead in Eirik's hall and outlines exactly how that metallurgy is going to spread historically. She completely fascinates him, so he decides to keep her alive to test her. And that moves us to Section 3, Modern Mind, Ancient World, a clash of cultures. This is where we get some incredible, laugh-out-loud anthropological friction. Emma basically goes from captive to bossing the village around. Take the drinking well. Emma sees it's downhill from the goat pens, so rain is washing goat waste into their water. Gross, right? She tries to explain epidemiology, and this giant warrior named Bjorn completely writes her off, saying their goats are loyal and that moving a well is basically witchcraft. But Eirik actually listens to her logic and they move the well. This right here is the absolute turning point. Eirik isn't just watching a captive anymore. He's watching a brilliant woman transform his home. They are alone on a cliff. The emotional tension is suffocating, and he admits this profound contradiction. He tells her, "You not belong here, and yet you fit." The absolute swoon. That realization sparks their very first insanely passionate encounter. If you're loving this passionate story as much as we are, please take a moment to like this video, share it with your fellow romance lovers, and subscribe to Velvet Ink Press so you never miss your next favorite book escape. Okay, getting back into it. The peace obviously doesn't last. Section 4, Battle for Ravenfjord, History in Action. The stakes absolutely skyrocket here. A rival clan leader, Håkon Skargrim, attacks with terrifying black-sailed ships. First, Håkon's main forces crash right against Eirik's shield wall on the beach. But Emma knows her history. She warns Eirik that real raiders use flanking maneuvers. Because of her quick thinking,
Eirik immediately sends men to the northern ridge and perfectly intercepts the ambush. She literally saves the clan. The aftermath is incredibly emotional. Emma didn't just hide. She actually grabbed a fallen shield to fend off an attacker and protect Bjorn. Because of her fierce bravery, Eirik publicly places her under his absolute protection. That is a massive, incredibly romantic declaration. Surviving this bonds her so tightly to these warriors, and she realizes, with a bit of panic, that Ravenfjord is actually starting to feel like home. Which brings us to the agonizing climax of the story. Section 5, The Choice Across Centuries. The Stone Awakens. You guys, this dilemma tore me apart. Just as she's accepting her place, the teeter stain starts pulsing blue in a storage hall. The portal is opening. Now she has to weigh the modern future against the Viking present. Does she go back to 2026 for hot showers, modern medicine, and her safe academic career? Or does she choose 860 AD, facing daily danger, but keeping Eirik, her newfound family, and this wildly unpredictable destiny? The emotional peak hits during this massive storm. Emma is standing on the cliff, the stone blazing blue, the gateway wide open. Eirik is right there, willing to break his own heart just to ensure she gets back to safety. But Emma looks at the magic that tore her life apart, and with so much resolve, she drops this perfect line, "This thing dragged me across centuries." Seems rude not to answer it. And then, she just closes her hand over the stone, permanently putting out its light. She chooses him. But wait, the author doesn't just leave us on that cliffhanger. The narrative brilliantly jumps forward exactly 6 years for an epilogue. Let me tell you, this gives you all the warm fuzzies. 6 years later in Ravenfjord, Emma is pregnant with her and Eric's baby, and her modern touch is everywhere. The food storage is totally reorganized to stop spoilage, their longships are structurally upgraded using modern physics, and it's just this beautiful, peaceful blend. And the Teethar stain? It remains permanently dormant. It all wraps up with this incredibly beautiful, resonant thought from the text. She had crossed centuries and found exactly where she belonged. It just perfectly nails that epic romantic arc. She might have lost her original time, but she found her ultimate soulmate and her true home. It really makes you wonder, if you were exploring an ancient ruin and the blue light of the teeter stains suddenly called out to you, which century would you claim? Ready to dive into the heat right now? You can grab your copy of this steamy romance ebook today. Just click the link attached in the description of this video to start reading instantly. Don't wait. Go check the description, get your ebook at the link, and find out what happens next.